Welcome, everybody, to A Good Story Podcast, Episode 3. Today, we're covering famous musicians and their lives. Firstly, we'll cover a punk icon who had a very tragic life and even more tragic death. And we'll cover the crazy stories he left behind, including where he got his name from. Secondly, we'll cover the man who's probably the opposite of that. He's all about the peace, the love, the ganja. Well, you can probably guess who it is already, but I was very surprised to find out how this man died. And lastly, we'll cover a blues guitar player and singer who played so well that his contemporaries thought he made a deal with the devil himself. Oh, and as a side note, if you'll notice us gasping and trying to breathe and coughing and pretty much just being in overall agony, it's because we all had to eat a pepper. See, in this podcast, we have a punishment if we miss the day of the podcast for whatever reason, we don't have a good excuse. We have to eat a pepper. And it's a pretty spicy pepper. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, though. But it's enough to make you tear up and enough to make you want to throw up. So that is why you will be hearing weird noises coming from us. All right, with that covered, let's jump into it.
Dude, my eyes are already wet. Okay. Oh my God. I swallowed the first piece.
I got a little bit left. I'm not gonna cheat, Joe. I'm gonna eat the last bit.
Bitch, look at that. Woo! I think Joe went to throw up.
I thought I was going to.
Lips are burning.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I might hold on. I might
Just
throw
start,
up.
damn it.
I'm trying. I can't breathe. All right.
Holy shit.
Maybe we should change our minds. We can get something to drink. Oh God.
I have a drink.
All right. My guy was Sid Vicious.
This is gonna be terrible.
Sid Vicious. He was born in 1957 as Simon Ritchie, and he's famous for being the bassist of the Sex Pistols.
Okay. Oh God.
Okay. I'm back. I only threw up phlegm. It's fine. So he's born Simon Ritchie, and he didn't have the best life when he was younger. So his mom bangs out this Royal Buckingham Palace guard, marries him, gets pregnant, and then when he's born, his dad's like, hey, go to the island of Ibiza and I'll like support you and send you checks and money until I can move there. So his mom and him move there only to find out there's no money. The checks never arrive. The dad never responds. It's not like today where you can stalk him on Facebook and find him. So she realizes, oh, he's abandoned us. So she finds a different guy later who she marries. But his life was pretty, growing up, not the best. And his mother she was very motherly to him, but to the point where you'll find out later, to the point where she basically encouraged not so great behavior, which ended up getting him killed. So skipping forward a little bit, I skipped over some things, but like later on, I think he was about 17, he meets John Lydon, who became Johnny Rotten, the lead singer of the Sex Pistols. And where he gets his name from is actually, you would think, oh, Sid Vicious, punk rock. Oh, what a badass, great nickname. No, he got it from John Lydon's hamster, which was named Sid. And he's playing with Sid, and Sid, the hamster, bites him, and he says, "Oh man, Sid is vicious." So everyone thought it was hilarious that he got bit by a hamster, so they nicknamed him Sid Vicious after a hamster. So one of the greatest, most iconic punk figures, maybe the most iconic punk figure in history, is named after a fucking hamster.
That's great.
Yeah. And so again, he ended up joining a few bands, doing a few things, but he ended up joining the Sex Pistols, and he already had the attitude. He was totally into the punk mentality, the punk world, and he ends up joining the Sex Pistols because the original bassist leaves. And the bassist leaves, and he becomes the bassist. Well, here's the problem. Sid Vicious doesn't know how to play bass, and he's actually terrible at it. Like, he is atrocious at it. So he ends up not even being on like any of the albums playing bass because they had to record it. He was also in the hospital for hepatitis, but he was so bad at bass that they had to get another bassist to come in and do the songs for the albums. He would play it live, but so fun fact, he's not even on any of the albums except for I think one song he was on playing bass because he was so bad. And he was considered like the attitude of punk. The manager of the Sex Pistols said, you know, if I would have met Sid Vicious before I met Johnny Rotten, I would have made him the lead singer because Johnny Rotten, yeah, he might be the voice of punk, but Sid Vicious is the attitude. And yeah, he had the attitude. This guy was insane. He was a drug addict, super depressed, probably had a lot of mental issues, and he carved "Give Me a Fix" into his chest at a concert with a piece of glass. So he's just, yeah, so just bleeding. He would get in fight with fans, and he hit one of them over the head from San Antonio with his bass guitar, just smashed him in the head because they insulted him. Yeah, and one of his number one suppliers for his drugs was his lovely mother. His mother would buy him drugs.
Mommy knows best.
Yeah, mommy knows best. Exactly. And so that's why I said she took almost being a mother a little too far. And she even bought it like heroin for him as like a birthday present. So yeah, so he meets, he's famous also for his counterpart, Nancy. There's even a movie, I think it's called Sid and Nancy. And there's a lot of documentaries. People don't feel like they could separate them. They were so close together. And on October 12th, he had been dating her. It is an abusive relationship. She claims that to her mom that Sid Vicious like broke her nose, like ripped her ear, bunch of bad stuff. It was very tumultuous because they were both drug addicts. People say she introduced him to heroin, but it's most likely he had done a bunch of shit before that. I mean, this guy went into a bathroom filled with puke with one of the Ramones, took a like syringe or something, a needle, had the speed in it, dipped it into a toilet filled with puke, and injected himself.
I see why you had hepatitis.
Yeah. So this guy did not give a shit. So no one knows. So one night they do a bunch of drugs in New York, wake up, and Nancy's stabbed to death. And he doesn't remember anything.
Definitely him.
The cops come. I'm actually pretty good right now. The cops come, and he's saying that he did it, and it's fine. No big deal. He just admitted to murder, but he's in like still kind of a drug-induced state. So later he recanted, said, "I would never kill her. I love her." So he gets released on bail, and to this day, there's a lot of people who don't believe he killed her, which I don't know how that's possible. Some people think it was her drug dealer came to give her more drugs and stabbed her. I don't know why the drug dealer would do that. Maybe there's a good reason. I didn't.
Why would you kill a customer?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Really
That's what I was
one.
thinking. She's a drug addict. Why would you kill especially a famous one? Like that would bring more attention. But anyway, I think people just don't want to believe Sid because he had such a depressing life. Did it? They kind of feel bad for him. But so then he gets released. Then he attacks Todd Smith, who was like the brother of a singer. You know why he attacked Todd Smith? Can you guess?
He was on heroin.
Looked funny at him.
Close, Jared. He was insulting Todd Smith's girlfriend, and Todd Smith said, "Hey, can you be respectful to my girlfriend?" So he beat the shit out of him with, like, I think he attacked him with a bottle. And yeah, just because he's like, "Hey, can you not like insult my girlfriend?" So then later he beats the shit out of a music critic / journalist. Oh, he goes to rehab, but it doesn't really work. He gets out for that because he's like, okay, I'll go to rehab. I think I've taken this a little too far. I'm starting fights with random people. But after getting out of rehab, he fights a journalist and who didn't like the Sex Pistols, and he wrote like bad articles around them. So Sid Vicious like takes out a bike chain and is just like, yeah, I don't like your trousers.
Did he carry a bike chain with him?
I guess he just had it, and he just beat the crap out of the guy with the bike chain.
Who carries a bike chain?
I don't know. He's Punk. He's Punk, guys. That's what Punk people do. John Cena had a bike chain around his neck when he used to wrestle. I don't know.
Yeah, that was like a prop. Like, you're just carrying his
maybe
pocket.
it's a prop, Jared. Come on.
You just carry it in your pocket or some shit?
I don't know. Maybe he had a bike somewhere. I don't know. And he was just like, I'm just trying to keep my bike safe. I don't know.
There's no way he had a bike. You think he could do drugs and ride a bike? There's no way.
I mean, he did a lot of things on drugs. He did whole concerts on drugs and crazy stuff. So there's like no proof, but they're pretty sure when his mom, like a lot of people say he killed cats too. After his mom kicked him out, he like strangled them.
He definitely killed that hamster.
Yeah, probably. I'll say that after. So after all this, all his life, he's getting fights. He's a drug addict. He gets kicked out of the Sex Pistols because, again, he's literally just fighting with fans all the time and attacking them and just berating them. He's bad at playing the bass, but he's actually a pretty good singer, actually. What happens is he dies of an overdose. He gets released on bail again. His mom buys him drugs. Someone else delivers it to him, but it was his mom who said, "Oh, well, get out of jail. Here's some drugs, honey." And he overdoses. It was like 98% pure heroin.
I thought he killed his mother, Bender. Illuminati shit.
I think that would have been better, but she killed him, basically. And yeah, he died of an overdose. They told him, "Don't take so much. It's so pure," and he didn't listen. He dies. And the story goes, someone said in an interview that none of the New York homes, like funeral homes, would take him because he was so infamous. They didn't want to have a funeral for him or whatever.
Oh,
yeah. So they cremated him. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty sad. And then he wanted to be buried by Nancy, apparently. And so the mom, she's buried in a Jewish cemetery, by the way.
There's no way.
So, yeah, exactly. They go to the mom though, and they're like, "Can I get special permission to sprinkle ashes on your daughter? His ashes on your daughter's grave?" Mind you,
no, he killed her.
Pretty likely that he killed her, and the mom knows that, like, at least he was beating the shit out of her. And even though your daughter's a drug addict and probably kind of a degenerate, you're gonna love her and your son. I mean, either way, and so. Some other drug addict kills them, you're probably not gonna be like, yeah, of course. Like, so of course she denies it. She says no, and the mom is just kind of a piece of shit and was like, I don't care, and like
did it anyway.
It was like Sid Vicious's sister, the mom, and a couple friends just drove up there to the cemetery because who's gonna stop them? Exactly, and they just sprinkled it on anyway, which is really fucked up. But I was like, I just love how the mom asked and was like, "Is this okay? This is fine," and then just said, "Fuck it, I don't give a shit about what you want," and just sprinkled it on.
I mean, if they really want to be hardcore, they could have just buried his body in the same grave. Like, no one would have stopped them if they would have done it at night.
Well, again, they couldn't, I guess, but they asked. So the mom,
you get custody of the body. You don't tell me what you're doing with it. Dig her up, put him in there. The coffin's probably big enough for two, and rebury him. No one's the wiser.
Too much work to dig a big hole like that.
They're on drugs, Bender. They can do anything. True. I saw a video of a man lifting a 300-pound man always on PCP.
Fair enough. All right. Well, they sprinkled the ashes. They cremated him. So, I mean, the mother claims that she found a note in his pocket that they had a suicide pact, and he said he wanted to hold up his end of the bargain, and that
suicide by stabbing yourself multiple times to
yeah,
death. A tale as old as time.
No one even knows if this note is real. And then the mom said, like, he wanted to be on the note. He said, bury me in my leather jacket, my motorcycle boots next to Nancy or something. So he really did love her, but he was
wearing the jacket tonight.
yeah, this is Sid Vicious jacket that I'm wearing tonight. I found it and it's mine now.
Did a lot of gay porn for that jacket.
Yeah, I've done a lot of bad things. I dipped a needle full of speed into vomit in a toilet, and here I am. Anyway, the last
ad for Bender's OnlyFans page.
So the last thing I want to say in this depressing tale, he was the attitude of punk. He's kind of viewed as the image of punk, and he had a lot of mental health issues. Clearly, that he wasn't getting treated for. He was a drug addict. Most likely a murderer. So I don't really feel sympathy for that. But having a mom,
most likely murderers. I mean, who else could it possibly be?
Yeah. I mean, they never. Well, her case is still.
Do they ever have any other suspects besides the potential, drug dealer?
I didn't look up the case too closely, but no, as far as I know, there was never. I'm pretty sure he was still going to be prosecuted because he was out on bail.
Yeah,
like, I don't. It's like people come up with their own theories where, like I said, they say her drug dealer, they say she killed herself. Like people do say she stabbed herself, which I'm like, if you're gonna kill yourself as a drug addict, there's this really easy way called doing more drugs.
Yeah, drug addicts commit seppuku all the time. It's just
building, and he's like, he goes up, he thinks he's gonna like fight Freddie Mercury or intimidate him, and he goes like, have you succeeded in bringing ballet to the masses? And Freddie Mercury just grabs him, like picks him up and is like, calls him like Simon Ferocious. It's like, you're Simon, and just throws him out of the building. Which, I don't know, it's just hilarious. Like the two images of Freddie Mercury with that mustache, just picking up Sid Vicious drunk, like his drunk, probably on heroin ass, and just
because
he's
like
the building.
He's like, compared to Freddie Mercury, he's like not a big deal. It's like I remember this story from Tales from the Tour Bus where Johnny Paycheck like drove drunk to Waylon Jennings' house, crashed his car into his house, and started yelling at him like, "I'm bigger than you. I'm the best thing ever happened to country music." It's like you have one famous song and you went to jail for life for killing a guy. What do you mean?
What do you mean? Why are you here?
What do you want from me?
Oh my God. So I just thought that was kind of a funny story that Freddie Mercury didn't beat him up, but he just humiliated him for sure. And so Sid Vicious, the image of punk, got beat by the guy who wanted to bring ballet to the masses. So there you go.
That's about right.
That's my musician.
It was good. I liked it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know the story behind that guy. Mine's far less modern.
He did it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like the weird thing is how whenever you look stuff up about him, it's mostly him and Nancy because they were weirdly. Not only were they drug addicts, they were addicted to each other. She became his manager after he left the Sex Pistols too, by the way.
Oh, that's a great combo.
That's always a good way to your girlfriend to be your manager.
Girlfriend, fellow drug addict is your manager.
Fellow drug addict. Groupie before.
Only has your best interest in mind.
Yeah, only. I mean, they probably did love each other, but at some point, like they found a list that I think he made about her, like things he loved about her, and. But at the same time, it's like you have a lot of issues, man.
You probably stabbed her to death.
Well, I'm talking about before he even stabbed her to death.
Before?
He beat the shit out of her, dude. Well, yeah. Like he's doing drugs with her and he's like abusing her, and it's like, okay, well, at some point, dude, you don't love her if you're. I don't know. When people say that, it always rubs me the wrong way. When people are like, I love this person, and then they just like abuse the shit out of them, and I go, do you know? Yeah, your words. Yeah, actions are a little different. Maybe you shouldn't like rip her ear off, man. He didn't rip her whole ear off, but he ripped part of her ear or something. So
And that makes it better. You heard it here first, folks.
you look more beautiful. Why are you doing this? I love you so much. He's just punching her like, yeah, I don't know. It's fucked up. It's a fucked up relationship, and they both died. So that's kind of the road you go down. Anyway, so that's the end of my sort of depressing guy, but still viewed as like the top punk rock guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, mine's a little bit earlier than that.
All right, so going from the hardcore punk rock guy, probably to the complete opposite of that is probably to the guy who's known for being the purveyor of, peace and good times and let's feel good, man. I decided to talk about Bob Marley because everyone kind of knows who Bob Marley is.
Thought you were gonna say John Lennon, and I was gonna laugh.
No.
I was gonna laugh about John Lennon too, because I was gonna be like, he beat the shit out of all his girlfriends. That's
No,
Especially
no.
Yoko Ono.
No, but see, that's to my point. Everyone knows who Bob Marley is. He's a famous reggae guy. But really, I'm part of this. Before I looked him up, I had no idea what reggae was. I didn't have no idea that it was a religious movement. So anyway, getting back to Bob Marley, he's an interesting guy in the fact that so his band name was Marley of the Wailers, which he used until he died. That was his band name the whole time, even when they broke up. And he started this band with his stepbrother, because his mom, who was 18, married like a 60-year-old man. His mom was white, by the way. So his mom was white, married a 60-year-old in Jamaica, and then after he died, his mom remarried to a guy in England, and they moved to England. And then the stepbrother is who Bob Marley ended up, whose name was Bunny Waller, is who they ended up starting his band with. And there's Bobby Waller and Peter Tosh were the other guys, and Bobby and the Wailers. And Wailer kind of comes from Bunny Wailer's last name. So they are in the beginning of their career. They use a lot of trumpets and like old saxophone kind of style, but eventually they start moving on towards their more known style, which is reggae. And that's when Bob Marley discovered the guitar. Well, not discovered, but he got really good at like playing all of his riffs with the electric guitar, which kind of replaced trumpets in that kind of music. That they would now play the. I'm not a music person. I can't remember what it's called, but like basically the part where trumpets were important, that was replaced by electric guitar, and Bob Marley's band was instrumental in bringing that around and that change in that style of music. So after he lives in several different places. He moves up to the United States. He lives in Delaware for a while. He works like odd end jobs under the name of like Dale Marley or something like that. And he works as like a used car salesman. He did a bunch of odd end jobs, and then they moved back to Jamaica, and he's doing a bunch of different concerts. And then right before he's supposed to do a concert for the then Prime Minister of Jamaica, he almost gets assassinated. Like someone breaks into his house, shoots him in the chest and the arm, and like they attack his wife and stuff like that. And they never catch these people. Like these people are like unknown to this day who was the attacker. They think they were like people that were protesting the prime minister because they thought Bob Marley was showing up to doing the concert for the in support of the prime minister, which maybe he was, but at the same time he was really trying to just get his music out there. Anyway, the next day he goes on stage just like nothing had happened, and a couple of days later an interviewer asked him like, why would you do that? Why did you get on stage? And he was like, and his most famous quote is, the people who make the world bad don't take a day off, so how can I? And so anyway, his music is all about, love and peace and yada, 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 marijuana. We know that. But what's interesting about that is, and I learned about the Rastafarian movement, is it is a Afrikaner religious movement that is based on the Bible, but they believe that this guy named Haile Selassie, who was the emperor of Ethiopia from It's like 1965 to like 1973, like in there somewhere. Anyway, they believe he's the second coming of Jesus.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, exactly. And so they believe he's the second coming of Jesus, or some of them do. There's another sect that thinks he was just like a prophet that lived and like spoke was basically kind of like you have the difference between Judaism and Christianity. People like Jews think that Jesus was a prophet, and Christians think he was the son of God.
Oh no, Jews believe he's just a teacher.
Well,
Muslims believe he's a prophet. Yeah.
Same idea.
Joe mixed religions.
All right, fair enough.
You want to tell us, Joe?
All right, we're gonna stir the pot a little bit. All right. Yeah.
Now streaming in.
But anyway, but I thought that was interesting. I never knew that's what Rastafarianism was. So it was very interesting to read about that, and a lot of their, getting back to the marijuana thing, a lot of their servicing was saying. So I didn't know this either, but Rastafarianism, they're like religious services as a sacrament. You smoke the ganja, like that's their sacrament, and they try to go through like spiritual enlightenment through that and stuff like that. And it was interesting to me. I thought I didn't know that was that about Bob Marley. I didn't know he had that part of his life. Anyway, he dies in 81. He was born in 45, and he dies in 81. He's only 36 years old. Like I say, he released 11 albums. What's crazy is in 1983, after his death, they released just a bunch of just like basically like everything else that he had written that he hadn't released when he was alive. And his most famous song, probably Buffalo Soldier, it wasn't released till after his death. So that's which is often the case with artists and musicians and all that. Anyway, like I said, Bob Marley's an interesting figure. I knew that he had been attempted as like assassination attempt, but I didn't know he got back up on stage the next day and was like, no, I'm still gonna play. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Interesting enough, his dad, I didn't know this too. His dad's job was to be a plantation overseer in Jamaica. Like, that was his job title. Now, I didn't do enough background research into it. Maybe I could, if someone else wants to do it like for fun. I don't know at this time what that meant. I don't think there was slavery still in Jamaica at this time. I really don't think there was in the 1900s. But I'm not sure what a plantation owner's job really was, or that it oversaw like kind of like indentured servants or what. But that'd be interesting to look into.
No, maybe it's like a manager of Chipotle or something. Just you're not working hard enough or whatever, you're fired as a worker. Doesn't have to necessarily be a slave, I guess. Like, although with those historical connotations, I like how he put out 11 albums, proving that potheads can work hard. You hear that, potheads out there? You too can be successful, like Joe Rogan and Bob Marley.
Yes.
Very unlikely.
And sometimes Elon Musk.
And sometimes Elon Musk. You too can take us to Mars if you smoke enough ganja. Didn't he die from an infection that he didn't playing soccer? Like he was playing soccer and he got an infection.
No, he died from like a heart disease.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I learned something new today.
Like natural causes. Yeah, it was a disease he battled for like 2 years.
Oh, I thought he got cut on his foot playing soccer and then he just died from an infection.
I'm curious who you're thinking about, Ben.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was Bob Marley.
The disease, but I can look it up. It was like,
interesting. Well, I learned that Bob Marley almost got assassinated for no reason. He's just like, cool. That's yeah. I knew about the religious movement. I don't know what the background is. I actually had I guess I'll call him a friend in high school who he ended up converting and telling me about it. That's how I knew about it.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, he was like, his family was super devout. Like, I don't know.
Did he try to convert you, Bender?
No. But he was a very interesting guy. He was a very nice guy, but he was like, his parents had multiple Bible
the
studies.
Mormons, Bender.
Yeah, I know. His parents had multiple Bible studies a week. The problem was he kept talking about how God wants to make everyone who truly believes rich. And I was like, I don't think that's how
that works. That's
but then one day he came in, he's like,
God's Lamborghini.
Yeah. So I was like, but then he joined the Rastafari movement or whatever, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, this guy was the second coming of Jesus. And I was like, okay.
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 One thing I forgot to mention is a big part of that movement too was they got behind the idea of resettling like Africans in Africa, but yeah, that's the last point of that.
Okay, I'll start another one. Earlier than that, let's go back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the Deep South.
Oh no!
All right. Uh-oh.
Well, this story.
That's right.
Okay. So.
All right, so who cheated and took a drink during break?
I didn't. I definitely didn't.
I didn't.
Oh, I don't even need one. I'm fine now.
I'm good now.
I'm good
the
now,
first
yeah.
like 5-10 minutes is really
Yeah,
good.
first the 5-10 minutes is hell on earth. I had to
know.
do all the talking, so fuck you guys.
I offered to go first. You didn't want me to.
That's true. Fair enough. All right, Jared, hit us with it. What's yours?
Mine is Robert Johnson, born Mississippi, 1911, to a very, very poor family. Very poor, and really liked music. Would sneak out during school and class to go watch different blues musicians, and did it all the time. Obviously, schoolwork suffered, but didn't matter. This is early 1900s, and he wanted to become a musician anyway. So you'd start out by literally going up to these clubs, and when like acts would come down or take a break, he would go up there and try to start playing his own music, and either get booed or shouted down or be allowed to play a couple songs. Like that's kind of how he started out. Incidentally, he made some enemies, but made some friends too. Other musicians, some of them kind of liked him. Then like that was going okay. That's how I met his first wife. They got married. I think he was 18 or 20, and she was like 16. But she died in childbirth, which messed him up pretty bad.
More music for him.
More music for him. That happened. But the thing is that also happened to his next wife. Same exact thing.
More music for him. That's more material right there.
Yep. But like as he went on, like he kind of like yeah, of course, like a blues musician, you think like grow from that. But apparently his music didn't. Like all of his close friends at the time were said like, yeah, he was like maybe a mediocre guitarist at best. Like they're like he's okay, like nothing great. But here's where the story like really kind of like takes a big shift. So he's playing all over the South for a bit, mostly like kind of like Mississippi area, and he just disappears for like I think it's like a few months or something like that. It wasn't that long. It disappears like off the face of the earth. Comes back and is playing like music like no one's ever heard before. Like he's like a master of the guitar now, like unbelievably good. Like overnight, like I saw the people who knew him were saying like he just instantly became better, and so it started this story that and then people aren't really sure if like he told this or if it like embellished, but the story has it that one night when he was walking down the crossroads in this small town in Mississippi, the devil appeared to him, and the devil offered to trade his soul to give him like a master guitar. So in exchange for his soul, the devil tuned his guitar for him and handed it back to him. He became an amazing musician. You can actually still go to those exact crossroads where it's rumored that he made the deal with the devil. So instantly overnight became an amazing blues musician, but still no one knew about him. In fact, like you and I would not know about him to this day if not for him recording. He did 2 recording sessions. That's all he did for his whole life. He did 2. One was in San Antonio, Texas, in a hotel room where somebody just recorded some of his music. I think it was like, and then the other one was like in Dallas, and I think the together is like 26 or 27 songs total. That's all he's known for. But so what happened was he died young, but the weird thing is like, it's not the weird thing because like he wasn't really well known. Like no one realized he died. So well, they have his recording and they play.
He hasn't been moving for a while. What's going on?
No. What happened was like they had his recording of his music, and like it didn't become popular until about like 30 years after he recorded it. Like he wasn't exactly an old man when he recorded this music, but it didn't become popular 30 years later until starting to play like Carnegie Hall. Like people were like, oh my gosh, like that's when like the blues is starting to really become like more mainstream. Like everyone realizes it's more of an art form. And they're just listening to this amazing music came from one person. Like this music, like people were like, oh, like who was this musician who made it? And people didn't realize it was him until like years later. They eventually found his death certificate. and he was just found dead on the side of the road somewhere in the South.
Damn.
Yeah, there weren't. Some people think that it was like a jealous husband killed him, or like either that, or like is also they think maybe it was syphilis. They're not 100% sure, but go figure. One of them killed him, or maybe it's the devil. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that devil
came back
was
for
the
his soul.
Yeah, but he died young. But the crazy thing about it is like his music like influenced like Bob Dylan named an album after him. Like had his album cover, the one he made, like superimposed on like one of his albums. He influenced like Led Zeppelin, like the Beatles, like a bunch of famous musicians like took direct influence from him and even like mentioned him in interviews and things. Like it, he pretty much like helped shape like rock and roll based on his old blues music.
Huh.
Like super famous blues musician who was never popular in his own time, had some crazy miracle story about how he sold his soul to the devil and become a great musician, and you can still physically go to the place in Mississippi where people think it happened.
I want to know. Okay, the story is that he hands the guitar over to the devil, right? That's
Yeah.
what you said, and the devil tunes it.
Yeah.
Well, you could still be a bad guitar player even with the most perfectly tuned guitar ever.
Maybe it was metaphorical. Maybe he became a magic guitar bender. You don't know that.
Like you could hand me a perfectly tuned guitar. The devil could do it himself. Jesus could.
Well, maybe you can sell yourself for some hair, and then we'll evaluate how it affects you.
I don't know how to play it, so what does it matter?
How long did he disappear for?
I think it was like a few months or something like that. Like it was not that long. Like people, all the people, because like this is all like okay. So all of these are like firsthand accounts because like no one knew about this guy until later. So they interviewed his friends, like the only people who knew him. Like pretty much no one knew about him until years later. So people didn't have his recordings. He has no firsthand interviews. It's literally all his friends. So like, hey, we used to hang around with him at bars all the time. Then everyone saw him disappear for a few months. He comes back. He's amazing guitarist.
Did he meet like another guitarist, or did he just like go somewhere in the woods and practice a bunch?
Well, some people think it's like a new. Some people say it's like a new. It was like he like developed like a new style too. Like it was like some sort of like special like way you like move his fingers and stuff. But like,
just like the guy went and practiced in the woods for a few weeks. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's possessed by the devil."
Isn't that how it works?
If I move my fingers a little differently, I'll make great music. Everyone else, nope. That's the devil's work right there. That's the devil's work, I tell you.
Well, anyway, like "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" You know the song, like the guy like in the studio, like that's where that's based off of. That's
okay, that's pretty cool. He had a huge influence, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's quite. It reminds me. Your story actually reminds me a lot of another. I can't remember his name. It's kind of sad because that's kind of the point. There was like this Rolling Stones. They interviewed the Rolling Stones guy, and like Mick Jagger, and I think it was Keith Richards as well. Might have been all of them. They were talking about another blues guy. They said he is the greatest. Like, what are your influences? And they said he is like the greatest guitarist I've ever seen. And then years later, someone heard that, and he was just playing like a small concert, like not even a concert, like literally like 10 people, 20 people, and this guy's just standing there watching him be like a master of the guitar, but nobody to this day, like even I can't remember his name right now. Like, but here the Rolling Stones are like, yeah, he's the greatest guitarist of all time that we ever heard, and he influenced us greatly. And
isn't
then
that crazy? Like all those unnamed musicians, like you'll never know their names who were like masters of instruments. Like that was one of the things I really liked from the Eagles documentary. Like you ever watch that one on Netflix? Like they talk about how when they were dirt poor in California at one point, they were like all hanging out with like a bunch of other musicians in this dirt poor area, and they're like, yeah, like there's musicians down the hall. We think like, oh, they're gonna make it big. Like they have all this talent, and then nothing ever came of them. They're like what made us special? Like they like have like just as much talent as us. Like just same guitar skills, like awesome songwriting skills. Just they didn't just pick up at the right time or something.
There you go.
Yeah,
got to be good at marketing too, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if Macklemore can make it, then by himself.
Mackle
I don't even know if he's released much music since. But I remember sophomore or freshman year, he was huge. So
yeah, no kidding. Way to date this podcast, Bender.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean,
or date us.
He's always been big. What am I saying? He's always been popular. Yeah,
The
that's
year of
awesome.
our Lord,
You
current
mean the
year.
president?
Who is the president this time? Who knows?
Yeah.
Current president.
Actually, I joke
current
about that,
president.
but you never know with the current. Yeah, anyway.
All right,
We'll just
we've
Simpsons
gone
it.
off
We'll say
track,
every
but-
single one until one of them's right.
All right, guys, that was episode 3. Hopefully you could enjoy our cries of agony and get a good laugh out of that. God knows we suffered for that. Hopefully you learned something. I know I did, especially my mind was blown that Bob Marley was, 1, almost assassinated, but 2, that he did not die from a cut on his foot that got an infection. My whole life I believed that. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Be sure to move your little mouse over if you're on a computer and click that like button. Just move it over right now. Click. If it's on your phone, it's even easier. Take your finger and hit the like. There you go. Good job. Proud of you. If you're on YouTube, leave a question, a comment, a suggestion, as always, in the comment section. If you're on Spotify, I don't know, share it to some social media, because can't have comments, sadly. That's why Joe Rogan's podcast just isn't as good as it used to be. All right, guys. Stay tuned for episode 4 next week. And see you then, I guess.